being the slightly strange and geeky child that I was, I even soaked one in water and then picked apart the layers to see how it worked. Hi guys, Jamie at Clue Amateurs here. I hope you're doing well. So I've been out and about all week, out enjoying nature, but today is a well and truly grotty and gloomy day, or at least it has been. It's brightening up now. But as such, I've stayed in this morning and done something that's a bit different for this channel. I've done kind of a bit of arts and crafts. And I've made this. Now looking at it straight on, this doesn't look like much of anything, but if you look at it at an extreme kind of right angle, then you see a landscape. This is the seafront at Torquay, and if you look at it at an extreme left, you see a picture of a steam train. These are two photos that I took on a trip to Torquay and the surrounding area a while back, and I've used them to make something I've always wanted to make, which is one of these kind of photo setups where you get these two different images. I've always been fascinated by these. When I was a kid, I used to love getting kind of trading cards and things where the image changed depending on the angle that you looked at it at. To the point that, being the slightly strange and geeky child that I was, I even soaked one in water and then picked apart the layers to see how it works. Effectively, it's the image broken up into lots of thin strips and then set at different angles. So depending on which angle you're holding it at, you see a different image. Something that reminded me how much I loved these recently was going to the National Gallery in London and seeing Holbein's The Ambassadors, which is a painting of two ambassadors, and there's kind of this weird blur in between them. And if you look at it from an extreme angle, you find that it's actually a skull. I think that's really cool. I love little things hidden in art. I'm not massively artistically inclined, but I do love it when artists hide clever things and use clever illusions and tricks of the light in their work. So today I'm going to talk you through how I made this and hopefully give you some pointers on how you could make one as well. Now I remember seeing how to do this just using cardboard folded into this kind of series of 90-degree angles on like an arts and crafts program when I was a kid. I don't think I actually gave it a go, but I wanted to build something which was a bit more solid and might last a bit better. So let's get into it. So these are the things that you'll need. You'll want what's called some corner moulding or square moulding. So this is like a kind of an L-shaped dowel designed to go on the corner of furniture or to cover up joins. The narrower gauge, the better. So this is 13mm, and I got a 2.4 metre length of this from Homebase for about £5. You want something to cut that with. I used a hacksaw and that worked pretty well, so maybe give that a go. If you've got a Dremel, the cutting bit, that would probably make really quick work of it too. You'll want a photo frame, well actually you'll just want the back from a photo frame. You want a pencil to mark things out, a ruler and possibly a tape measure. You want some PVA glue, as well as something to apply it with and something to spread it out with. I just used an old key fob kind of loyalty card. And you might also want a more viscous glue, so something like hot glue, Yoo-hoo, epoxy, just a thicker glue, and you'll see why that is a bit later on. The first thing you're going to want to do is take your frame and just remove the back from it. That's the only bit we're going to need. So this is actually really good if you've got an old frame which is broken but the back is intact. So remove that. And this is where our lengths of wood are going to go. So what we want to do next is accurately measure the width and height of our frame, or rather the backing of our frame. Okay, so that's 149mm wide and pretty much bang on, and pretty much bang on 100mm across. So what we're going to want to do is cut enough 100mm, 10cm, 4-inch lengths, whatever you want to call them, but we're going to want to cut enough lengths from our corner moulding to fill this space. And given that the width is 149mm and the width of our corner moulding is 16mm, We're going to fit 9 of them on there with a little bit of space between each of them. So what we're going to do now is mark up our corner moulding and get to cutting some lengths from it. Hopefully it goes without saying, but obviously if you are going to try this with young people that are in your care, maybe they're off school for the summer at the moment, then there are hazards associated with using saws, knives and glues. So do just take care if you're going to give this a go. But it is a fun project, and it would be ideal if you have got maybe slightly older children in your care who are a bit artsy and would like to try something like this. I'll be using a hacksaw for this, a junior hacksaw, just to minimise any splintering or damage to the wood, hopefully minimise sawdust, and also just keep this relatively quiet as my partner is working from home just downstairs. We've got our 9 ridges cut and they fit quite nicely on our backing here. At the end we've got a bit of a gap, and that's just about 4mm, and so you're going to have 0.5 millimetre between each one, so they're going to fit quite tightly together. This means that this basically vertical edge on the side won't be visible, so it's just this space here that you want to put your strips of photo onto. So if we give that a quick measure, that's pretty much bang on 1 centimetre, and that will take us up to this midline here. So what we're going to want to do now is find 2 photos, make them each 9 centimetres wide, 10 centimetres tall, and then cut them into strips and lay them on these edges and glue them down. I've printed off a couple of 9 by 10 centimetre images, and we're now going to cut these into strips to stick onto our corner moulding. I had hoped to use some nice sunny shots from a trip I took to Torquay and Dartmouth last year. Unfortunately, I've just discovered that my printer is broken, so instead I've turned them into some kind of moody, high contrast monochromes. Obviously, if you're trying to do this at home, feel free to use any nice normal photos that you have available. Clippings from magazines might work really well for this as well, because of the way that we're sticking it on with PVA glue. So to cut these out and then in strips, what I'm going to use is a sharp knife, a metal ruler, and a cutting board. I'm using a clean kitchen cutting board because the normal scrap of card that I use as a cutting board is MIA. So as you can see, this metal ruler is pretty worn, it's pretty hard to see the actual marks on it, so I'm just going to make some marks using a tape measure so I know where to cut the strips. and we can start cutting. And there we have our two sliced up images. At this point, we're ready to start pasting our strips of our images onto our corner mouldings. So you're going to want the first one from each on one, the second one from each on the next, and so on. To do this, I've just got a 50-50 mix of water and PVA glue. You want a brush to apply it with, and something to push out any air bubbles and flatten it down with. Kind of an old credit card or something will do. I've just got my Screwfix key fob that I don't use, so I just carry my card. Okay, so let's get pasting. Okay, and your fingers will get a bit messy because you do want to get it pressed right up to that centre line, and you want them to meet nicely in the middle, so it's worth getting both on before you start to shuffle them around. Sorry, out of shot there, it's hard around a camera. Okay, so you've got them meeting nicely in the middle, then you just want to smooth it down. Try and do a best job on this one, so just shuffling them into the middle until they meet, and then smoothing them down. So the finish there isn't quite as good as I'd hoped. It proved a bit more difficult to stick them onto the corner mouldings than I thought, but actually already you can see the effect. Hopefully this picks up as well on camera as it does in person. So there you've got kind of the beachscape when you look at it from one side. Doesn't really make any sense from the front, but then from the other side you've got the image of the train. So actually I'm quite pleased with that so far. So I'm going to get this glue cleared up and then we're going to get it stuck onto the photo frame backing. For the final assembly, it's really handy that we've got an odd number of pieces, because what we can do is just take our end pieces, put those where we want them, then put one in the middle and keep doing that until we're happy with the spacing. You could do this by measuring it, but the gaps we would need to measure between the pieces are so small, I think this should give us a better result. So we've got those ones in, then the ones that go halfway between each of them. And with a bit of jiggery pokery, we've got our completed image. Okay, so to glue these down, rather than using the PVA glue, what I'm going to do is use a hot glue gun, just because if you try to stick these with PVA, you've got a very thin edge to try and stick these, and it won't stick very securely, whereas with hot glue, I can pour some in here, keep it all inside the corner moulding, and it should secure it nicely to our picture frame. As I'm doing this, the PVA isn't quite dry, which is why I'm only handling it by the ends to avoid any further damage to the photos. So you might notice I have actually marked halfway here just to give me a bit of a guide, just rather than doing it by eye, because I'm having to work around a camera, which I've now gone out of shot of. Sorry. Okay, and there we have it. So we'll get cleared up while we wait for the hot glue set and the PVA to dry a little bit more, and we'll see what it looks like. Okay guys, so that's it for today. As I've said, quite a different video for this channel, but hopefully you've enjoyed it, hopefully you've got something out of it, and if you want to make your own 2 pictures in 1 frame, then now maybe you'll be able to give it a go. Please do comment, like, subscribe. We do loads of stuff on this channel. It's mostly outdoors stuff. As I've said, this is a bit unusual, but do hit that subscribe button because we're always coming out with new things. Right now though, I've been Jamie, this has been Clear Amateurs, and I'll see you next time.